You want it now or you go listen? Because she said she'll put it in the microphone. So she's going to put yours in the microphone. Yeah, but that's because we but you have to take it now. Salad. I'll give you a bag.
Okay. You ready? You got one? You got one? I was gonna give you gonna give it to me for me to repeat. Good, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Is this on? I got to talk louder than that. Okay. All right. You got me? Testing, testing. There you go. Everybody can hear me now. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is got a hey Cedric, how you doing? We are going to go ahead with our event this afternoon. Eddie is not doing well, but he'll be back with us in another week or so. But I just talked to him a few minutes ago. But what we're going to do is go ahead and start our program. We will, after I finish talking, we will have Spencer Ingram to come up. And Spencer is if you don't use him, you probably should. Crackerjack CPA, the best, one of the best people around. And he comes from good stock. He came from Gifford, Florida. The Metropolitan, Gifford, Florida. And, there's great things come out of Gifford. All right. So beginning, we always talk about Rattler Boosters, and it is now for new season. The season is about to begin. Our fiscal year begins July 1, and it goes from July 1 all the way till June the 30th. So as you know, we're getting ready to approach June the 30th. So we're going to come back with July 1, starting our Rattler Boosters new membership drive. Our Rattler Boosters beginning, you can go on our website, and that's FAMURattlerBoosters.com. You could join. You could become an annual member, which is $100 per person. Or you can become what we call a Venom membership, which is $300 per person. or you can become a life member, which is $750 per person. And once you pay your life dues, once you pay your life membership dues, then we won't ask you for anything else other than for your normal contributions. So after that, we're going to ask all of you, if you are not currently Rattler Booster members, we're going to ask you to join us to become part of Rattler Boosters. We do a lot of great things with Rattler Boosters for athletics. One of the things that we had going on with Rattler Boosters this year is our track team. We had a situation where our track team went to regionals, went to the championship last week, and we qualified with 3 players currently that's going to be going into the NCAA preliminary trials. But we got one, but there's an event that's going to take place in a week or so that will get them ready for the event. Well, of course, we don't have a whole lot of money in our athletic department. So what happened was the Rattler Boosters came to me, well, the coach came to me, and what we did was we agreed to sponsor those 3 players, and we're looking for some more. I think we got until Tuesday before we'll know exactly how many that we're going to be sending. But we will send the track team to Belmont. It's not Belmont, but it's near Orlando. But we will be sending them down for a track meet. It's a track meet that to keep them ready. So once the track meet starts, once the event starts in Louisville, Kentucky, then we'll be able to have them ready to go. But in the meantime, at the PGA Works College Championship in Jacksonville, that's where Vaughn is today. And we have an excellent shot of winning this PGA Works Collegiate Overall Championship. Currently, we are 21, according to the paper, it's 19 strokes, but according to the Rattler Boosters, it's 21 stroke lead. But anyway, we're leading. And so unless calamity happens within the over in Jacksonville, we'll probably walk away with the national championship. So that's where Vaughn is, and he's getting all that information, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see some of the highlights of the event. We had 3 players that's in the top 5, and we also had 1 player who's into the not only just the top 5, but he's also the number 1 player in the tournament. So we're expecting to win big over in Jacksonville. Now, our softball, as you know, many of our softball people they're in the tournament, and we won yesterday 2-1. It was a hard-fought decision, but we came out ahead. So we were able to get 3 players on the All-SWAC team. We have Zoriana Hughes, so 14-3. She entered into the game in the 2nd inning, and she was able to go with the right-hander, struck out 7, and only gave up 2 hits. So she was able to win the game yesterday. On our Zoriana was also the pitcher of the year in the SWAC. Samantha Smith was the newcomer of the year. Amaya Gaynor was made all SWAC. And our Coach Carmise Patterson, became the co-coach of the year. So we got some accolades that's coming in from SWAC. So we like to thank you all, want to thank them for that. On our track and field, I talked a little bit about this earlier, but We came in number 2. We missed by 10 points. That's what we missed, number 1 and number 2. Coach expressed to me he had so many some key players that were injured, and he just said that he hate that he had to come in second, but he wanted to apologize. And I told her, don't worry about it. Next year will be his year. We also have a men team, and our men team came in 8th for the year. For the baseball team, came off a real tough decision last weekend. We played BCU, and if you came to Friday's game, you felt pretty good because they didn't score any runs, so we won 4-0. But Saturday was a little different. We lost 9-3, and Sunday was a little bit different too. We lost 5-3. So we lost 2 of the games out of the 3 series, out of the 3 games that we played. We lost 2 of the games to BCU, and this is the only team that was able to beat us this year. We've gone through and swept everybody else, but we keep losing to them. So we're just waiting for the tournament, so we'll get them back at the tournament. Okay. So our game this week is going to be we're playing Alabama State. We're playing them in Montgomery. And we have there are 2 night games. There's a Friday night at 7, Saturday night at 7. And then we finish up the series with the 2 games, with the last game for the series. And on next week, which would be our finale, we're playing Mississippi Valley. So if you want to come out and see our baseball team, you got next week to come out and cheer us on. Okay, so those are all of the highlights that I have for our sports. But again, I just want to thank you all for everything that you do for Rattler Boosters and everything you do what's program. So now, Spencer, is there anything special you want me to say about you? Okay, so as we say in church, the next voice you will hear would be Spencer Ingram.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here and have an opportunity to share a little bit of the knowledge and wisdom that I've gained over the years. Again, my name is Spencer Ingram. I'm a CPA here in Tallahassee. I'm originally, as they said, from Gifford, Florida. Came here 35 years ago to attend Florida A&M University. I'll tell you a quick story. I was in Dr. Walker's class in English. And part of, coming in as a freshman, you introduce yourself to the class. So I stood up and I said, my name is Spencer Ingram. I did the SBI greeting, of course. I'm from Vero Beach, Florida. And she stopped me. She said, you aren't from Vero Beach, Florida. And I'm looking at her like, okay, where am I from? She said, you're from Gifford. So from there on, I said, okay, when I give a greeting, I need to make sure I tell people I'm from Gifford, Florida. All right. And so what I'm going to do is, I have a wife here, Janaea. She's an administrative law judge. I have to give her a shout out. And also a daughter, Olivia, that's 9 years old. And so I want to just share Mr. Eddie Jackson asked me to talk about, and which was in conjunction with the $1 Million campaign. He wanted to talk about, I guess, a better way to give, or a tax strategy that's out there that is probably one of the best ways to save money and also give to a charity at the same time. So we're going to talk primarily about this, what they call qualified charitable distributions. Okay. And again, this strategy is for a specific group of people we'll talk about. But even if it doesn't apply to you, hopefully there's some nuggets or something that you've learned outside of this that we can discuss. I didn't realize I was the speaker. So my presentation was really trying to keep it close to 15 minutes or so. But again, I'm open to whatever you want to talk about. I think I know the subject pretty well enough. After doing this for 27 years and being in business for 30 years, I feel comfortable that with my knowledge base that I can pretty much answer a lot of the questions that will be brought up today. All right. So let's talk about the types of income. Okay. So typically, if you look on the screen there, we have various types of income. And I was trying to make sure that I hit income that, represented what I anticipated was going to be in the room. So we have Social Security. All right. People typically have retirement. Again, I'm talking about older people. We're not talking about folks who are working. Okay. So you don't see wages up there. You just see retirement, income, and pension, individual retirement account, and then also interest, dividends, and sales of what we call capital assets. So anything that can be sold for a gain. Uncle Sam wants his take. Okay. He wants his part. And so I want to focus primarily on the individual retirement account. And before somebody asks this question, yes, you will have to pay taxes on income as long as you live. Okay. That's one of the first questions people ask me. Will there ever be a time where I don't have to pay taxes? If there's a certain age, I have my wife's grandmother is 101 years old and she's in DC and she still has to pay taxes. And when she dies, she still gonna have to pay taxes because somebody's gonna have to do a final tax return. So the only time that you don't pay tax is typically if you have as a sole source of income. That means your only income is basically Social Security. Okay, so if you only have Social Security and nothing else, yeah, you probably won't have to file a tax return. And also VA disability is another one. If you have a VA disability, that doesn't show up on tax return. So those are the two. But other than that, if you have anything else on there, you're going to pay tax. So I don't care what people say, and I don't want to hear about Trump didn't pay taxes. You are going to pay taxes. Okay. All right. All right. So let's look at the individual retirement account. Now, in this area, which is kind of interesting, I like to talk about, the good thing about me, I feel like that separates me is I actually teach around the country. So I teach other CPAs at these big firms. Okay. So, some of the biggest typically in the top 50 accounting firms in the country. And so what I've noticed is real world versus textbook. Okay. And especially given here in Tallahassee, where we have state government, stable workforce, the truth of the matter is people would say that as you get older, your taxes are supposed to go what? Down, right? And the truth of the matter, like I said, I've been doing this 27 years. I see folks' income going up as they get older. And I can, there's been many times where I've had clients, especially, and I love older clients, they just say, I didn't realize I was going to be making this kind of money in retirement. I made more money in retirement than I did working. And it's true. But textbook says something else. And a lot of times the financial planners act off the textbook. But I'm saying real world is something different. Okay. So my point is, the truth of the matter is taxes typically as you get older go up. And also another aspect of it is you have to look at what's happening politically. Okay. And again, when I share this, I don't put in my political views. I just tell you what the facts are. The facts are under Republican administrations, typically taxes go down. Under Democratic administrations, taxes go up. Okay. And the reason I say that is because one of the biggest impacts on what we're going to look at is something called the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that was passed in 2017 under the Trump administration. And yes, it rewarded the big guys. Okay. And to me, it really hurt retirees and elderly. And sometimes, the back of my mind, I say, is that by design? Because the older people probably pretty settled in their ways. They're not gonna kick up any fuss. They can they seen a lot over their lifetime. So, okay, it is what it is and keep moving. But that's what I've seen. So I see, like I say, income goes up, your taxes are going to go up. All right. Again, a lot of it is dependent on political. And then with the fact that, think about economically what's happened with COVID, and there has been a lot of money, inflation, these government programs, they have to pay for this stuff. Okay. So again, I say that with me trying to read the tea leaves, and I'm just telling y'all taxes probably not going down. They probably going to go up. Okay. All right. So let's focus on this individual retirement account and how we can use this to enhance our charitable contributions, keeping in mind that, again, this big $1 million fundraising campaign, what type of tool do you have in your arsenal in order to help you give towards that goal? All right. So again, this particular strategy focuses on individuals who are 70 and a half years or older. They have a individual retirement account. Okay. And then we're not talking about Roth IRA. We're talking about a traditional IRA. What does that mean? That means that money has been put into the account pre-tax, meaning it has never seen the light of day in terms of taxes. And when you withdraw the money will be pulled out subject to income tax. Okay. Subject to income tax. That's what we're talking about. The most important thing is that you're charitably inclined. Okay. So again, over the years, a lot of people will ask me, all right, how much can I give to charity in order to knock out or eradicate this tax bill? Well, it's not a dollar for dollar exchange. It is times your tax rate. So if you give $100, depending on what tax rate, you have to multiply that 100 times your tax rate to find out what impact or effect that it has on your taxes. So it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay. So I say that to say, you have to be charitably inclined. You're not giving in order to necessarily save taxes. You're giving, the tax benefit is an ancillary benefit. It's like I like to look at it like a rebate, okay, I give $1,000 to my church, and okay, I'm giving to the Lord, but I will get a little benefit from it come tax time. Okay. But I'm not giving because I'm trying to reduce my taxes. Okay. Because you're better off just keeping the money and paying the taxes. Because again, the way I like to put your mind or give you a frame of references, it's just like having a silent partner. You have somebody who's digging in your pocket for anywhere from 10 to potentially 37%. Okay. You don't see them, but come April, you have to settle up. Okay. So you have this silent partner, right? The other thing is to make this strategy work, maximize the strategy, the individuals are taking the standard deduction. Okay. And we'll talk about what that means. So again, you have an IRA, you have these required minimum distributions, and you're charitably inclined. Now, the good thing, I kind of was alluded to the fact that I see folks who income actually increases in retirement. The primary reason I see folks having IRAs in our area is typically because of drop money, right? So they work for the state or work for government, and they were able to retire, and they took advantage of drop, and now they got that big lump sum, right? And then they were able to either take that money and take it and roll it over to an IRA so that they could defer paying taxes on it in the future. Okay. So that's typically where I see this big IRA come from. So if you had drop money, and I guess I should ask, anybody meet this criteria? You over 70 and a half, you have required minimum distribution. Oh, okay. I guess the women not going to say that, but hopefully I'm talking to a lot of people who have, in fact, the IRA. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's who we're talking about. All right. Oh, Jeff, I stopped. All right. You hit it. Okay. All right. So now I need y'all to focus on this. I did, in terms of the handouts, I made sure that I was kind of trying to save paper, the CPAME cheap. So I didn't print out all the slides. I only printed out what I thought were the most important slides. Okay. Now you got to get this, because this is, to me, the crux of understanding what's going on. All right. So in this slide, I'm looking at standard deduction, which everybody gets a standard deduction just by living. Okay. And it is simply based on your filing status. So if you're single, you're going to get a certain amount of tax-free income. That's all the standard deduction is amount that represents tax-free income. Okay. That's all it is. All right. So in this case, if you look at this slide, I picked single and married filing joint. Of course, we have other filing statuses, head of household, qualifying widow or widower, but I just picked the ones that I felt like the majority of the room would probably qualify under. All right. So basically, if you look at this, the married filing joint, I'm basically saying for 2024, for the first $32,300 is tax-free. Okay, so you can earn $32,300 tax-free. Okay, after that, you start paying taxes. All right, for single, it goes up to $16,550. Again, these numbers are considering folks who are over 65, because folks over 65 get an extra little boost. Okay, if you're single, you subtract on the single. If you're under 65, you have to subtract out $1,950 from that number to get your standard deduction. So married filing joint, there's another two people at $1,550 a piece. And so you would subtract that from there for folks who are under 65 to get your standard deduction. So it'll be slightly less than those numbers. Okay. So first $32,000 tax-free. Okay. After that, you have to pay tax. And if anybody has a question while I'm going, trust me, I was going to say something smart, but I'll just say this. You can go ahead and ask it. You can go ahead and ask it, and I have no problem stopping. All right. Now, this is the key. Now, look at the itemizations. Once you have itemizations greater than the standard, that's when we, as tax preparers, pick the standard. We pick the itemized amount, and we use that number versus the standard. So how do you get over the standard amount? You have to have medical expenses. You have to have real estate taxes or taxes that you pay. You have to have mortgage interest. You have to have charitable deductions. So all those numbers have to exceed the standard before you itemize. So if you're single, again, over 65, you need over $16,550 worth of that stuff. So again, it's kind of hard to get over that number if your house is paid off. Because typically the main number that gets you over these standard numbers is typically the mortgage interest. Okay. So the mortgage interest usually gets you there. And then if people do right and tithe and offering, that'll probably be the next biggest one. One of the negatives of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017 is they limited real estate taxes or taxes to just 10 grand. So if you work in Georgia or you live in these high tax states like California, New York, you pay a lot in taxes, but you only limit it to $10,000 that you can use towards your itemizations to get over either the $16,550 or the $32,300. So everybody with me? I didn't want to get too technical with it, but I just want to, bottom line is, in order to itemize, you got to have enough of, let me stop. You don't want to have enough medical expenses. So let me say that. You don't want that. Because if you have that much in medical expenses, you're in pretty bad shape. Because and we see them mostly from nursing home expenses. Nursing home typically, puts you over that because you have to get over 7.5% of your adjusted gross income before you can claim the first dollar in medical expenses. So it's a high threshold for medical expenses. Okay. All right. We'll go to the next one. All right. So currently, the way it works is you write a check to charity. All right. And when you give, you may or may not actually get a tax benefit, right? Okay. You may, because if you're under the standard, let me go back 1 second. Again, in that standard deduction, that is going to be given to you regardless. So you might have itemizations that are only $12,000, including your charity, but it doesn't make sense to take the lower amount. You want to take the higher amount. That's tax free, right? You're going to take the higher amount. So even in that case, in another case, let's say you do eclipse that. I'm just using the single just because it's easy for me to see. Let's say we did make it to $20,000. And of that 20,000, let's just say 10,000 was our charity. If you think about it, only $3,450 was, if you want to, if you want to break it out, we only used $3,450 of our charity, right? Of that 10,000 charity. So we didn't really use all the charity, or we didn't get the benefit for all 10,000. We only got benefit for part because the standard deduction, was the base, if you will. All right. So what I'm saying is, by evoking this strategy, you can actually use that full, in my example, that full $10,000 if it applies. Okay. And so how do you do it? I say it's all about being efficient in what you do. Okay. So this strategy allows us to be a lot more tax efficient. Okay. So instead of writing the check, again, we meet the qualifications. We had an IRA. We had these required minimum distributions that we have to take. And we're charitably inclined. We want to give money to our church. We want to give money to the boosters. We want to give money to the FAMU Foundation towards this campaign. So how do we do it? As long as we take ourselves out of the equation, and instead of writing the check to the charity or giving the money to the charity, you have the trustee from the IRA directly issue the check to the charity. That's the key. Okay. And once they do that, they take you out of the process. Guess what? That income does not show. Well, that income doesn't show up on your tax return. Okay. I mean, we actually note it, but it doesn't show up in your total income. So it doesn't even see the light of day. Okay. Now, why is that significant? That's significant because some other deductions can be what's the word? Impacted, but yes, but we actually use them. We use your income for calculations for other deductions and credits. So if you can lower that by not even including it on the tax return, that's a win-win all day long. Okay. So, yep. And so again, it's not that you still contributing to the charity. You're going to take a required minimum distribution anyway, right? Right. So again, you have to take it. And if you're going to give it to charity, why not do it more efficiently? And that's the essence of the strategy. Okay. Now let's look at some numbers. So here we go again. The same thing, same examples. 32,300 for married filing joint, 16,500 for single. So now if we take that required minimum distribution, and we're not limited to the required minimum distribution, so don't get caught up there. I mean, we can go actually up to $100,000. Okay, so let's say the required minimum distribution is 4,000, and you want to do 20,000. Yes, you can do the 20,000. You can do 20,000. Okay, and have that check go directly to your charity, and it can be multiple charities. Now, what I found is some trustees, they have different rules. Some of them don't like for you to do it monthly. They like for you to do it quarterly. Some of them like for you to do it, semi-annually. It depends. The funny part about it is a lot of times when I recommend this, some of the elderly people, they so used to doing it every week or every month. And I say, well, just, give it to McAllister up front. I'm sure he'll like it, he'll like it in January 1 instead of having to get it, throughout the year. So, so yeah, I think the pastors like it when they can get it up front and know they can count on it. Okay. All right. So again, with this qualified chair, remember the first 32,300 is it's tax free. So now think about it. Now we can add on top of that the qualified charitable distribution amount. So now if we take that same 10,000 that I used earlier, now that 32,300 becomes 42,300 of tax free. Okay? And so it's almost like you add it on top. Technically that's not correct, but in terms I want y'all to understand. So that becomes tax free. And so that's a huge win versus doing it the other way. Okay. Anybody got any questions? I hope I didn't confuse. I get so excited about this stuff and it gets excited. Go ahead. I got a question.
It's really a confirmation that is that qualifying charitable contribution is not considered to be income, where another distribution would be considered to be income, and it could affect your tax bracket if you're not careful.
Right. And so
that's a real benefit.
Yeah,
those who are bumping up against the tax bracket or right at right above the tax bracket, you should take them below.
Right. And for those that didn't hear, he was just confirming what he heard, which was the fact that it's not included in income, and that's a huge benefit when you're looking at where you may fall in the tax brackets and the ability to kind of lower those taxes by not getting pushed up into a bracket. And he was right on cue because we got the tax brackets up there. All right. And so again, I didn't try to show all the brackets because there is a 10% bracket above. I mean, actually, first, and then there's a 35 and a 37% bracket after 32. So I figure most people fall anywhere between 12 and 24. All right. And so what I wanted to show here is, again, this is taxable income. Okay. Not total income. This is tax. So this is after the standard deduction. And let me go back for a second. Again, 2017, and prior to that, remember we had the standard deduction plus the personal exemptions. Okay, so the personal exemptions went away, and what they did was they supercharged the standard deductions. That legislation ends December 31st, 2025. Okay, so this stuff, so we could in fact go back to the personal exemptions and to lower standard deductions. So if we go back to lower standard deductions and personal exemptions, this even becomes, in my mind, even bigger, okay, benefit. Because you have less, like for example, the 32,300, let's say, and I probably shouldn't spitball it like this, but I would say the standard deduction probably be like around $16,000-$16,000. So like half. Okay. All right. So just keep that in mind, that unless Congress acts and extend these, come December 31st, 2025, they expire. Okay. All right. Also, the other aspect I wanted to mention is, again, and I said it before, this is not, when you give to charity, it's not a one-to-one reduction in your taxes. These are the percentages that you're going to use to reduce your taxes. Okay. There are only a few credits. Well, let me say it this way. There's only a few. A credit is not the same as a deduction. Okay. So when you're trying to compute a credit, you would have to take whatever the amount that you are trying to pay towards this deduction and multiply that times your tax rate. So let's say if it was real estate taxes, take that times your tax rate, and that would be the equivalent credit. Okay. And so there's only a couple credits that are true 100% credits, meaning you pay money in and you get $1 reduction in taxes, and those are considered credits. So charitable, I just want to make sure you understand the difference. Charity results in deductions, not credits. Charitable contributions result in deductions and not credits. The only credits that we have that will reduce dollar for dollar, y'all didn't pay me for this piece, I'm just giving this to you. The only thing that reduces it dollar for dollar is typically foreign tax credit, and then there's a portion of your education credit when you're in undergrad. Those are the only ones that actually do a dollar for dollar reduction. Okay, next. All right. So again, we kind of talked about the strategy. So how does it work? You give $10,000 to the FAMU Foundation. And let me say this. I asked Dr. Friday Stroud to be here, but I know she had she was traveling, so I knew she was just like coming back at 1 or something like that. However, one of my great friends, probably somebody I've known her since 1990, and that's Kim Hankerson. She's here representing the FAMU Foundation, and Kim has had a remarkable career in giving, and whether it was United Way, she's worked at University of Florida in their giving programs, Florida State, and now she was able to come back home and work for us. So she brought all that good knowledge from various institutions and been able to be an asset to our school. All right. So again, you bring the $10,000, or you want to make a $10,000 contribution to the FAMU Foundation via the QCD towards this $1 million campaign. Again, contribution is going to be subtracted from your total income. They're going to work it out where the trustee from the IRA is going to send the check directly to them. It's going to be earmarked 220 fundraising, whatever, however they got it earmarked, and you're going to save anywhere from $1,000 to $3,700 on that $10,000 gift through this strategy. All right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that the educational credit,
Right.
dollar for dollar.
Right.
So is that one of the programs that they have through the college prepaid where
Yeah.
you can actually buy a college education for your
Right. Yeah. So, I mentioned the fact that, again, credits are dollar for dollar reductions. And one of the best thing, and it started under the Clinton administration, is the American Opportunity Credit, which for the first 4 years of school, you can actually get dollar for dollar up to a certain amount. And then after that is 50 cents on the dollar. All right. So if you pay for it through prepaid, yes, you still get the credit. Okay. Because a lot of times people don't realize this, even if you pay for it, whether it's prepaid or whether it's through student loans, somebody paid for it. There was a payment that was made. So therefore you get credit for it, even though it was paid, in much in advance. But yes, you do get credit for it. All right. All right. So in conclusion, this is a much better way to give to charity. Again, assuming you meet the qualifications. The other thing that you should think about is, okay, somebody might say, on that first slide, Spencer, you said, if I take the standard deduction, that's one of the requirements. You can still do it itemizing, and it's not going to, it actually be a little bit better because the income doesn't show up on your tax return. But from a tax standpoint, unless that income reduction is used to offset or used for some other deductions or credits, it's pretty much going to wash out the same. So I said that to say, even if you itemize, I would consider doing it as well. If you don't do it and you itemize, it may not have an impact depending on what else is going on with your tax situation. Again, I mentioned the fact that the 100,000 is the most. Also, again, if you don't have an IRA or not yet 70 and a half, we can't quite use this strategy. And a lot of these provisions, like I said, they were established in 2017, expire in 2025. And I just added this bonus information this morning. I guess given what we've heard about with the major donation of $237 million, I just wanted to just mention the fact that any of capital assets that have appreciated, that's another strategy that would be very helpful, meaning you bought something at a real low price and now it's grown to a huge price, or it has a huge value, I should say. It doesn't make sense for you to sell it, pay the tax on it, and then give it to charity. You're better off, the numbers work out where you're better off giving it to the foundation, letting them sell it, because one, you avoid the capital gains tax, so you don't have to pay the capital gains tax. And also, instead of you getting a charitable deduction at your cost, you get a charitable deduction at the actual market value. So that's why you see people give away paintings and things that have appreciated over time, because it's much better to do that. Same thing with cars. Well, I got to be careful about the cars, because cars, they're not as good as they used to be. Cars are, I think, the exception. Cars, you better off just selling the car and giving the money to charity, because they changed the way the cars, way they do cars. All right. And then the other one, and I failed to mention, I feel privileged because my homeboy here, Gifford is taking over, so we got control here. But, and I hope he doesn't mind sharing me telling his business, but donor advised funds, he was able to do a significant contribution to FAMU a few years back, and he used donor advised funds. And the benefit of a donor advised fund is the fact that you go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to set aside this big chunk of money, but you're not limited to time. Meaning, most of these you have to do within a calendar year before you can get your charitable deduction. Well, with donor advised funds, they allow you to get your charitable deduction up front, and then you can kind of decide on your charities and spread it out a little bit later. So that's a good way to what we call bunching deductions, when you might not qualify for itemizations, but you want to do something in the future and you want to get a bigger tax bang a little bit later on. You say, okay, this year I'm not going to make it in terms of my itemizations aren't going to exceed my standard, but I'm planning on the future to do something where I can. And so let me just kind of save up and put a lot of money into this donor advised fund and still have kind of control over it. And I can piece it out over time. And with that, I just say, taking advantage of these QCDs and with the ability to support the athletic department, to me, it's just a win-win. It's a more efficient way. It's a better way to do it. They always say, check with your tax advisor. Well, today I was your tax advisor. So I'm telling you, this is the way. I'm not going to put any disclaimer, and send you to somebody else. This typically is a great way to do it. And you'll also get the reward of not only saving taxes, but also contributing to this program and this long living legacy that we know of as FAMU. All right. Okay. All right. Questions? Go ahead. I'll let you go.
I have just one more question or confirmation. That is, I was told that you can't do a qualifying charitable contribution out of the 457.
It has to be an IRA. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Go back to slide 1, if you don't mind, Jeff. Yep. Okay. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. So the question was, he was told, or the comment was, he was told that you can't do it out of 457 plan, which is just a retirement plan typically for government employees and nonprofit employees. And that is correct. It cannot be done out of your state of Florida retirement. It can't be done out of a pension. It has to be an IRA. And that was one of the requirements. Right. You can roll into, right, exactly. You can roll to an IRA, but you can't take a qualified charitable distribution. And the good thing about this, I will say this, I mentioned the fact that, some of these things expire. This is not going to expire. Okay. I'm pretty confident in that because it's gotten better and better over the years. It used to be 50,000. They've upped it to 100,000. So, trying to get people to do more charitable things. I had another question. Oh, wow. We're sporty. Okay. I'm impressed. Yeah. So the question is, so a person with an RMD of 10,000 can deduct both the 16,550 standard deduction plus the RMD if it were converted to a QCD. So yes, essentially what happens is it's not like an additional, it doesn't show up on the tax return. So by it not showing up on tax return, that's where the quote unquote deduction occurs. Because again, using that example, if the person had $26,550 in income, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to show up on their tax return is the $16,550. We show it as the government sees it. It's like on the side. They'll see the 10,000 on the side and they'll see a note that says QCD. But then when you add up the numbers, 1 through whatever, 0 is there. Okay. So again, it's a win-win. Got you.
At what age must you draw
Okay.
from your IRA?
70 and a half. Now, the interesting thing, that's a good point. The rules have they changed. Secure Act 2.0, depending on your birthday, they pushing it down to 72, 73. I'm going, wait, it's more than just 72, 73. So y'all just go off what you heard last. Okay. I'm telling you, this thing is a moving target. So they, depending on what year and how old, over like the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see it keep moving depending on your age. So I think it goes up to almost 75 right now. Okay. So yeah, depending on your, it's almost like Social Security. I tell people, don't ask me about Social Security. Go get it directly from them, because depending on your birthday is how the rules are. And the same thing now with, it used to be clear cut. Now with Secure Act 2.0, which was signed under Biden, they've added, they kind of pushed it off where people can take it a little bit later. But and my thoughts on Social Security, my thing is get it, especially as Black folks and especially Black men, get it as soon as you can, when you can, because our life expectancy is not quite the same as everybody else's. Okay. Oh, another one. All right. Could you use a QCD, also lower one, Medicare? That's interesting. And so that's a very good question. So something that people don't realize a lot of times is your Medicare premium is based on your income. Okay. And so depending, and I've had that happen where people say they've had a nice increase in income. Maybe they sold something and they say, man, my Medicare premium went up. And yes, it will go up based on your income. But if you had like extenuating circumstances, you can actually have them readdress that. But yes, that is a good point. And the point is that QCD should, in fact, factor into that category so that your Medicare premium does not, in fact, go up. Okay. But again, you have to have a significant amount for Medicare premium to having it be impacted, because pretty much everybody pays the same up until certain incomes, and then you pay a little bit more. Was that it on the? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't know y'all liked me that much, but I appreciate it. Qualified charitable distribution. All right. Okay. I got you.
So for those folks who have an IRA, I understand that, but what about those of us who just write a check?
Writing checks with an IRA or without an IRA?
Without
Okay, so without IRA, you're out of luck. however, however, again, I talked about the fact that you may consider bunching your charitable deductions 1 year, or what, and maybe consider donor advised funds, something like that. But for the most part, yeah, unfortunately, you're out of luck. Again, if you itemize, you do get benefit. It's just not as good. That's all. I mean, so don't take away from this just because I can't do this, I'm not getting a benefit. You're not getting as good a benefit, but so if we talk about good, better, best, that's the best. You might be getting better, Okay. But I don't want you not to give, because again, I said all this to say, the first and foremost, you have to be inclined to give. You got to want to give. Okay. It's not about saving taxes. The taxes savings is an ancillary benefit. But the more important thing is that you want to give and help promote these causes, and that you, like I said, are charitably inclined.
Yeah, that's what 220 quarterback club
Is all about. Exactly. And so that's why I wanted to be able to share this information, so that people, like-minded people, can have the best tools to give towards this very admirable campaign. Okay. Good afternoon.
Hypothetically speaking, with the 220 quarterback club, they're like $20 each time you come. So if you factor that into a year, how would you utilize this way in paying?
Right. So you
Opposed to doing it $20.
right. Okay. So first off, and yeah. Okay. So the question was, when you come in here, you give $20 each period or each time you come here, and can you incorporate this strategy into to help supplement that or maybe augment that or some way to, and so I'm gonna give you the bad news first. Okay. Okay. So the bad news is, of that $20 that you give, technically the full 20 isn't deductible. Okay. You got to subtract out the meal piece. Okay. So that's just so that y'all know that. Yeah.
Because with the $20, it's 2 for the tip.
Okay. Okay. So y'all do have a breakdown.
10 for the
We want to hear your answer.
Okay. So again,
so it's not the whole $20.
right. But she was giving the breakdown. So okay. So given that fact, I done walked in the hornet's nest. So right, but yeah, but I just know that again, if you get some type of benefit, that portion is not tax deductible. And so again, I was just gonna say, if the meal portion is $10, you subtract that 10, and then the 10 is for charity. Right. So to answer your question, how could you do that here? I would say the portion that's not the tip and food portion, what you possibly could do is again you would have to go through the foundation, I would think, because I'm not aware. Do y'all have your own 501c3 or no? Right. Okay. Right. So technically, you would have to use a 501c3, which again would be the foundation, and you would have them send. You would have the trustee from the IRA send the tax deductible portion, like an annual dues, an annual fee. Have them send that annual fee to the foundation. The foundation has it marked for 220, and then as long as there's some communication between the organizations to show that you've paid that charitable piece, I guess you can get in the door, right? You can walk through the door and they won't turn you around. So that's the only way you can make that work. All right. Did I have any more questions? Okay.
You got a trustee pay the money for you.
Right.
So if I get $20,000 a year from let's say for drop to supplement pension and social security.
Okay.
That $20,000 a year from drop. I know it's income, but can be used just for contributions or donations.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're talking about. But it can't come to you first. You send it directly to the churches or wherever, to whatever your charity of choice, and you just tell them, what you want to do and where to send it. And yes, and we're talking about in an IRA now. Yeah, with the IRA, yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's your money. You just want it. Okay, so the question was, in his situation, he was saying that he has some supplemental income. He uses his IRA to supplement his pension money and Social Security money. And right now, I'm gonna add this piece, is coming into his account, and he's writing a check to charity. So he said, can I just have that money go directly to the charity? And I'm saying, yes, that's what we're talking about today. That is the qualified charitable distribution, is that the trustee at your direction sends those funds to the charity or charities of your choice. And in this case, what we're talking about is trying to raise money for this $1 million, right? And on behalf of the 220 Club, which would be funneled through the FAMU Foundation. What part? That the monies that are given towards this $1 million campaign will be going through the FAMU Foundation. Did y'all not have that discussion? Okay. All right. Colonel Joe looking at me like, you. Hey, let me tell you a funny Colonel Joe story. So I think this is about circa 2000. I want to, no, it was actually in the 90s. He comes in my office about 1999-ish or so. And so he asked me about something being deductible, credit card interest being deductible. I tell the story all over the country. So he says to me, he said, can I deduct credit card interest. And I was like, no, sir, you can't do it. And he said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. He said, are you sure, young man? I said, yes, sir. He said, I've been doing taxes as long as you've been living. So I just need you to make sure that you know. But the good thing about it is it did force me to look it up just to make sure that I was right. And so with that, I take that even though I think I know something, even if somebody questions me, I always double check. And that has helped me a lot of times learn stuff that, because I mean, think about it. The tax code is voluminous, and there are some certain nuggets and treats, and this is one of them. I like to say this is one of the treats in the tax code, just like selling your house and not having to pay capital gains up to $500,000. That's a sweet spot in the code. And if you really want to be mega rich, you can just keep selling your house every 2 years, and never pay tax on it. Oh, we got another one. The longer I talk, the more questions come. All right. Who do I send the bill to? Mr. Jackson? Do I send it to Jackson? All right. It says RMD rises each year, which could negatively impact. I mean, that's just a comment, right? Okay. He just says RMDs rises each year, which could negatively impact one's taxes. Because again, the whole point of RMDs, and they're actually going to change that, just so that y'all know, they're going to change it to beginning retirement date, retirement beginning date. I think it's RBD. So you might start hearing, instead of RMD, RBD. That's part of that Secure Act 2.0. So what happens is the whole point of these minimum distributions is that they don't want the money to go on for perpetuity. So that's why they force you to take it. So they look at your life expectancy. So it's based on your age, and based on your age, they try to make sure that the account ends up getting, by the time you get to the end of your lifespan, that the account is gone, that you don't have excess. So that's the whole point of it, is that these monies don't just go from generation to generation to generation. So that's the thought behind the RMDs. All right. Okay.
So you got a family member you want to leave money for a trust, take care of them. They can't necessarily manage it themselves.
Right.
You want to leave money for them to be managed.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. Just from, because I'm glad you qualified it, because a lot of times I hear this one and I just roll my eyes. Oh, thank you, Jeff, keeping me on point. He said, could I come back one time and talk about trust accounts that are set up for care for family members who can't handle their own funds? And so when people throw out, oh yeah, I need trust, I typically roll my eyes, because when you throw out trust, it's so blanket and broad that you have no clue. And a lot of times people talk about trust in the standpoint of for their kids and all that kind of stuff. And again, from a tax standpoint, trusts are not a very efficient vehicle, but they do allow, I'm just talking about in general, what they allow is they allow you to spread the tax benefit amongst a bunch of people. And so if you got some people at higher rates, some people at lower rates, in theory, they're better off. The true sweet spot in the tax code is really, if you take away something else from today, is when your money works for you, your tax is a lot lower. When you work for your money, your tax is a lot higher. So rich people, right, because their money works for them, stocks, dividends, interest. If you look at Mitt Romney's tax return, you can, I do it when I teach. I look at Mitt Romney's tax return versus the Obama's tax return versus Hillary Clinton's tax return when she was Secretary of State, when they were running for office. You'll see the tax rate for the Clintons, even though they had like 15 million bucks, it's like 40%. But Mitt Romney has like 30 million and his tax rate is only like 12%, because he has $12 million in dividends, 13, ridiculous amount of money in interest and whatnot. So, again, I keep that in consideration in terms of these very special needs. But yeah, there are special needs trusts that are out there, and they really function not more for a tax purpose. They function in more for a welfare purpose and really not for taxation. I hope they save me a plate, because I think I earned it today. No, I was just teasing. I was teasing. See, Dr. Walker on point. She was like, yeah, I got you. I got you. All right. So thank y'all for coming out and listening to me. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. I'm sure that Dr. Samuel A. Hunter and Chicken Shack Wilson and all those guys, they'll be real proud of you. Kim, I noticed that you're here. I don't know if you have anything to say, but at your pleasure, okay. We don't have anything else to add, but what we want to do is we want to say a special prayer for our friend, Dr. I gave him a note. I was getting ready to say Dr. Eddie Jackson. But we do want to say special to Dr. Jackson. I'm still saying Dr. Jackson, but we want to say again a special hello to him. Hope he enjoyed the show. It was just a great show for me. Like I said earlier, if you didn't have Spencer as your tax accountant, you probably need to go out and hire one. Okay. So again, thanks everybody, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.